Hello and welcome to 310 The Left. It's presented by your New England Ford dealers. Lou Merlone sitting here with Alex Spear. And Alex, we talked about it off the top a little bit. The excitement not just with the big league club and what the expectations could be now, the prospects that are here. Right? You've got the big three. You've got Anthony Campbell and Meyer. And then, by the way, Justinson Garcia, another prospect here in camp. To me, has looked very impressive. But these aren't little kids walking into camp, that need to add some weight and be more physical. All of these kids walking in here about 6'2", 6'3", 200, 210. These are men.
It's really, almost jarring when you remind yourself how, what their ages are.
Yeah.
Right? So Roman Anthony, I think, is particularly kind of like the standout there because you would see him as a teenager, and it's like, no. That's not what a teenager is supposed to look like when he's walking around on the backfields. He was, bigger, stronger, more powerful. So you were already seeing, at a very early point in his professional career, clear plus raw power that now is getting into even more elite ranges of what that raw power can be. He hit a ball 116 miles an hour last year. Yeah. He hit a home run 116 miles an hour. No one with the Red Sox was hitting a home run 116 miles an hour last year. So that stands out. Campbell is someone who has been incredibly diligent about the work that he's put in the off-season training in Fort Myers, really on a year-round basis, to turn baseball into a year-round profession.
Yeah.
And he's gotten much bigger since they drafted him out of Georgia Tech as a fourth rounder in 2023. Meyer's the one who's who's really you really want to see how much more physical he gets because he didn't work out in high school. That was not a part. Strength and conditioning wasn't really a part of what he was doing. He learned on the baseball field, which is awesome. I love that. I love developing baseball IQ, but it meant that there was going to be more physical runway. But it's probably also played into why he's had some injury issues that some of the other guys haven't had at this point in his career, just because the physical strength hasn't been there.
The fascinating thing to me is when you talk to some of the minor league guys, and they put these goals in front of them, right? And how quick these guys achieve them.
Yep.
I start with Roman Anthony, for example. 2023, I think it was 216 batting average against lefties. Last year was 313.
Yeah.
He hit lefties better than righties, and Marcelo's another left-handed hitter. But I think people forget these guys climb through the minor league system. In high school, you're not facing a professional lefty when you do face one, and even at the lower levels, lefties fly through the system.
Yeah.
So you don't really get a look at lefties until AAA, and even then, the good ones are in the big league. So they don't face lefties all that much. It is different. There is a different mindset. There is a different approach. And you put that on Anthony's plate to try to make the adjustments, and in 1 year, he hits lefties better than righties.
Yeah, very specifically, I saw him over a few games stretch, his final game in Portland, and then when he started out in Worcester last year, and I was stunned because he had a bunch of at-bats against lefties in those couple of days, including against a guy with big league experience, Colby Allard, in his debut in AAA. And the quality of contact that he was making against lefties and the quality of swings, the quality of swing decisions, I was floored because I had seen some at-bats that didn't look great against lefties the previous year, right? Because of exactly what you're talking about with that unfamiliarity. And so you're hoping that a guy over the course of 1 year might go from unable to make contact to just being able to survive against lefties. And instead I saw him hitting a 108 mile an hour double into the gap off of a lefty. And it's where did this come from? So that's a tell about how quickly a player is able to make adjustments, develop. That's part of how you get to be one of the absolute elite prospects in baseball. If you're able to learn faster than other guys, be on that really steep learning curve, then that's exceptional. And you're right, they are still getting a lot thrown at them that they have never seen or done before.
Yeah.
Right. So there has to be you have to assume that there are going to be periods of severe struggle. You should assume that when they get up to the big leagues, all of them are going to go through very steep periods of difficulty. Right.
Yeah.
We saw it with
Jackson Holiday.
Jackson Holiday is a great example. Roman Anthony's offseason buddy. He was the best prospect in baseball last year and was absolutely overwhelmed at the start of last year. And then after being optioned, comes back to the big leagues later in the year and he looks more competitive, right? And that's kind of a normal arc, and that's something that you should assume is going to be the arc for these guys. But man, they learn quickly. Yeah. So that's the encouraging part for the Red Sox about why they're in consideration, why they're in big league camp, and why their big league futures aren't that far off.
Well, it's a huge jump, from AAA to the big leagues, like just the talent level, the arms. I even say, like in spring training here, we're watching these kids, and every spring training somebody hits 380 and should be on the team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, who's he doing it off of?
Yep.
Is he hitting 380 off AA, AAA pitches that he saw last year, or is he facing a big leaguer, looking comfortable? And you know what I mean, like having those good at bats against big league arms. But he's a guy, I don't know where he plays. Like I know he's played some center field for the most part, and started to learn left field a little bit. He's not Rafaela in center. He's not the Jaron Duran type athlete. But for the size, his tool is offense, and he's good in the outfield. He doesn't burn the base pass, right? Average speed, from what I understand.
He flashes some interesting things in terms of how well he's moved. Like he's gotten to like 4-1-4-0 home to first, which is like you're talking about kind of plus speed for a left-handed hitter, but that is not the carrying part of his game. And he's so you kind of expect him to slow down because he is big and physical, and he's going to continue adding strength and size along the way. But there's at least like you're not zeroing out on any of those tools, right? Like there's something like everything is at least solid, like is at least like respectable, right? Like there's not a part of his game where you're like that is a glaring deficiency, and then there are parts of his game that are exceptional. So I think that the general consensus is yes, he's played center field going up through the minors to this point. The likelihood is that it's a corner. Like there's a reason why Wilyer Abreu's availability in a trade was a subject of conversation this offseason. Mm-hmm. There's a very good chance Roman Anthony ends up being a right fielder for the Red Sox for a pretty long period of time. Or that he could be a left fielder for the Red Sox for a long period of time as well.
The other guy, Marcelo Meyer, right? And really, it's, as the injuries are the reason why it's so-called dip in prospect rankings, because he hasn't been able to get through.
Yeah, he was top 5 at the Futures game last year, right?
I mean, the talent is no doubt it's there. Just when these guys went to AAA, he was dealing with the back and never got a AAA game.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why maybe he's a little bit behind these guys as far as in camp with a chance of making the ball club. But the talent's undeniable. But again, Roman Anthony has shown that improvement because he's been on the field and he's repeated at bats. That's where Marcelo maybe falls a little short, because there are some numbers. There are some, kills a fastball, off-speed secondary pitches, recognition versus lefties. But again, it's because he's lost reps of not playing, right? So this is a big year for him in AAA, right? To maybe improve secondary pitches, recognition, hitting lefties.
By being healthy.
But being
First
healthy.
and
You need
foremost,
the games.
by being healthy. Yeah, it's super interesting, right? Because if you think about it, Roman Anthony was drafted a year after Marcelo Meyer, and they probably played a comparable number of professional games at this point, even without even with that full season difference. And so, that's a huge development opportunity that's lost, particularly when you're talking about Marcelo Meyer never having seen the field in a AAA game. I think the talent is immense. I've gotten a chance to see him on a number of occasions as he's been coming up through the minors. Like I just love the looseness and ease of the swing, and then there's some really and then he is able to those eyes get big on some fastballs, and he will destroy fastballs in the zone in a way that makes him pretty compelling. But the ability to kind of easily lift the ball in the air to left field, and then to hit some screaming line drives to right field, there is a tremendous amount of talent. I am curious, what do you see when he's moving around shortstop?
Smooth. Again, another guy that maybe doesn't have that foot speed, but I think he plays quicker in the field. He's smooth. I watch him and Story play, take ground balls, and I think Story's just a little bit tick, maybe glove to hand, as far as how quick he gets rid of the ball at times. But you can just see it, and I don't know. I haven't seen enough of them, and that's why I love seeing these guys. My old friend Christian Forey used to call me Polar Express because I need to see it to believe it. You know what I mean? If I read it or somebody tells me,
jingle the bell for Lou.
That's great, but I want to see it. But what I've seen from him has really impressed me. Really, all of them in the batting cage. I'm not used to seeing young kids at AAA have loud batting practices the way these guys have, the strength that they have, the driving the ball out of the ballpark. They do look like big leaguers in the cage, and as you know, you can tell the difference, right? You hear the difference. You can hear the difference. So to me, his game is mature, his game is smooth. I love watching him down here. 310 The Left is presented by your New England Ford dealers.